And we mentioned Montag laughing at how absurd some of Clarice's questions and her answers are. And then she kind of gets on to him a little bit. She says, you laugh when I haven't been funny, and you answer right off. You never stop to think what I've asked you. So no, everything's so fast. No time to stop and think and consider. Just regurgitate the talking points that you've been taught. Laugh at the silliness of those ideas that go against the narrative. And Montag, again, he has no answer for this. He just calls Clarice odd. And then he chides her for not having any respect, as if it's disrespectful to ask questions. I wouldn't say she's being disrespectful here at all. She's having a conversation with a man, and that's what conversations are. You ask questions, you get answers, and you figure stuff out. And he's calling her disrespectful simply because she seems to be asking questions that she shouldn't be asking,
Well, she is kind of challenging him, though. I mean, it's not the usual dynamic.
She is.
With the teenage girl and a grown man, but it's because his mind is childish in a lot of ways. He's been,
That's exactly right. He taps the numerals 451 that are stitched, on his sleeve here. He taps those numbers, and that's a bit of intimidation. That's an intimidation tactic, I think. There are consequences for this type of behavior, Clarice. Look at this right here.
Yeah.
And then she changes and that's what the government does. That's what government official stooges do. They just point to their little badge of authority and act like, hey, you better knock this off because I'm just a stooge and I'm going to do what I'm told. Clarice, again, changes the subject. And I thought it was funny here. It's like in her mind, this is putting him at unease. I should probably stop talking about what I want to talk about and start asking more socially acceptable questions. And then she starts asking him, have you ever watched the jet cars? She goes on to talk about how the drivers are going in circles and they're going so fast. It's like, I better change the topic to something generic so not to tick anybody off. Have you seen the jet cars? What do you think about the jet cars? Everybody's going so fast. But then she can't help herself. She says, everybody's going so fast, they don't take the time to consider, to observe, to think and assess. And then she says, they don't know what grass is or flowers because they never see them slowly. All they see is blurs of color. And this is a lot of people. And I want to take it back to the preacher man coming out in me here. This is a problem a lot of people have when they're reading the Bible. I've noticed. They don't slow down and focus on the words that are there in front of them. They just kind of read it quickly and they don't stop and think. And look what's happening in this one verse. Look at this word. What does this word mean? What is the context here? And you get a lot of people who read the Bible the way Clarice is talking about the jet cars. All they just see is blurs. They don't really stop and think and consider and observe and assess. And that's just, as a pastor, that really doesn't fit into what we're talking. I'm shoehorning that point in, but we can move on. But I've just noticed that when people read the Bible, that's how a lot of people tend to read the Bible, just as a blur, just to say they did it,
Well, I think a lot of people read almost everything that way. I think we do live in a society that has some similarities here, which we're constantly surrounded by entertainment, and we all have kind of a limited attention span. Like I see it myself that because there's always one, something novel to look at here, it makes it harder for us to focus on one thing. So I think that our society, we can relate to that point a lot because we have kind of lost the ability to focus on something, either whether it's a book or whether it's nature that's in front of us, because there's always something bright and shiny and new to look at in the corners. It's one thing after another.
Yeah. And you get to going so fast. When you go so fast, you end up just going through the motions because you don't have time to really stop and savor those moments.
Right.
And everybody's lives are so busy. You're always here. You always got to be here. You always got to be there. And I think we miss out on a lot of those little moments in life that you'll never get back. Those moments with your kids that you'll never get back. Those moments with your spouse that you'll never get back. And when you're just going so fast, you don't have time to stop and think and be thankful and enjoy. God wants us Jesus said, I came to give life so you can have life abundantly. I want you to enjoy life. This earth is a tough place, but there's a lot of beauty here. It's meant to be enjoyed in Ecclesiastes, which is what is brought up frequently in this book. The author, the preacher there in Ecclesiastes says, enjoy, your life is short, so enjoy the good moments when you got them, because it's all vanity. It's all vapor. It's here and it's gone. So while you got something good, enjoy it. Don't just speed past everything. And speaking of speeding, Clarice mentioned something funny here. She says that her uncle was jailed for 2 days, Evie, for driving 40 miles an hour. That was a prison-worthy offense for 2 days for going too slow. And I was trying to think, that sounds absurd. That sounds almost comedic. But why? This means something. Why is it in there? This is the government's way of discouraging the thought process, the process of thinking. The speed keeps people distracted. Go faster. Go faster. Don't pay attention. Focus on not killing yourself. You don't have time to focus on anything else. You're going so fast. But when you slow down and smell the roses, you actually have time to stop and think. And the government putting a man in jail for going too slow, this is why I think that absurd punishment happened. What do you think about it? Am I reading too much into it? I don't think so. What do you think?
No, I think everything you're saying is there, and I think there's something more, which is that this is a society that's very that disregards safety. People are frequently killed in car accidents, run over. I mean, all this speed is not safe, and I think that's part of the intention, which is to desensitize people to death.
That's exactly right.
Right. And it's easier to manipulate them into going to war or doing whatever you want them to do.
Right, and it encourages them not to think. And that's
I think it's both of those things working together.
And that's what Montag tells Clarice here immediately. He says, you think too many things. He said that, and Bradbury said he says it with a sense of unease.
Yeah.
You think too much. And that made him, why would that make a man uneasy? I would think 2 reasons here. Self-consciousness, she's smarter than me. I can't keep up. But I don't think that's it here.
No.
I think in this society here, he's uneasy because this is how people get in trouble.
Yes.
By thinking. You think too much. I feel like something could just jump out and get me here. Somebody might be listening. And that's what I think Montag is nervous about. He's afraid he'll get in trouble. And I think he's also nervous. He doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't know how to think. And he's out of his element here. He feels a 17-year-old girl is smarter than me. And that's what I think the unease comes from.
Because I think, as we were saying earlier, he knows on some level that this programming is wrong. I mean, there's that tension within him and the tension in his wife between what they're aware they think or what they think they think, and at some, in some level, what they know to be actually true. There's that discord. And I think Clarice is bringing that out. I think that's part of why he's uneasy too, because what he's tried to suppress is coming to the surface.
And you said something that reminded me, what he's been taught has been wrong. And that's how you spot the lie. A lie, no matter how intricately it's been woven, there will necessarily be a contradiction in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And we talked about that when we were talking about houses are fireproof, but yet firemen can come burn them down with the books. So how are they fireproof? You see, that's a contradiction there, because it's that, and there's the contradiction in the lie. The lie, that's what makes them lies. They don't always match up. There's a contradiction, and that's what thinking will do for you. When you stop and think, you'll be able to spot those contradictions. But if you don't have time to stop and think, those contradictions just kind of slide by unnoticed, and people just go on with their normal lives. And that's why going too slow is outlawed, because if you go too slow, you'll spot those contradictions and you'll see the lie, and then you'll see it will that castle of cards will all just come tumbling down, and then you'll see the truth. You'll see, like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain, And that's why they don't want them to think. And that's why Montauk is so uncomfortable thinking.